What's wrong? You seem a little angst about trying to come into the gym today.
Well, I thought I had a plan. I don't have a plan. And I feel like I'm already mentally drained before I started.
So, let me be clear. You've already failed at your workout before you ever came into the gym. Yeah? Oh. Hey guys, welcome back out to Harvest Hills Ranch. And if you've ever felt like you're having trouble getting started, well, Leah and I have talked, and we feel like we've come up with some reasons that are probably at the core of why you're not getting started with a workout. So essentially, what's stopping you from getting started? Hey guys, I'm Dr. Arland Hill, and this is Leah Hill, and we have a passion for nutrition and all things health and wellness related. And Leah brings up a great example of getting some of your mental blockades out of the way before you ever cross what you define as your gym, whether that's a home gym, whether it's your bedroom, whether it's your living area, your living room area, or even going to a commercial gym, whatever it is. So I wanted Leah, she's been going through some of this recently as she's getting back into working out, and I wanted to bring her into the conversation today because I felt like some of the topics that she brought forward to me were things that needed to be said to others to help you guys benefit. So with that in mind, Leah, give me an idea. Let's start this conversation off and let's just go through some of the things that you and I talked about as far as some of the things that would stop someone from starting an exercise program.
It's intimidating. It's completely intimidating. Walking into the gym and you're like, I got this, but what am I gonna do? Like, you're all ramped up, you're pumped up, you got the adrenaline going, you got your music pumping, and then you're like, oh. So, there's that whole mental blockage of, that piece, you don't know what you don't know. Like, putting a workout together. Like, I'm like, okay, I see A and I see Z, but in between, I'm like, relearning my body. I'm not 20 anymore. And certain things don't quite go as far as they used to. Like, I'm not doing a jump split, y'all, in my mid-30s anymore. So, there's certain things, I don't move the same. I'm not as flexible anymore. Things that I used to just go and do, like, crazy things, I can't do those anymore. And it's not that I won't be able to in the future. I'm not there yet. I've got to relearn my muscle memory. I've got to relearn me, how I move, how I can do things. And, there's always the risk of failure in your head mentally that if I start, well, I'm going to fail. So you're already just completely obliterating any good positive vibes on yourself, and you're just beating your older self up and your younger selves in your head going, you can't do this anymore. So it's just that mental game we play with ourselves that I can't do it, so I'm not going to do it.
So let's take, you brought up several ideas here, so let's take these and break them down individually. And one word that you started out with there that I want to hone in on was intimidation. And to me, when I hear that, this is framed another way, this is fear, is what this is, right?
It's a fear of failure.
It's fear, and therefore we have to acknowledge where it is that your fear is coming from and try to source that, because then and only then can we go directly after that fear and come up with a plan to overcome that. So that's intimidation. And so to that point, a couple of things that you brought up were so one was having to relearn your body. So we're intimidated because we're not able to move and we don't have the flexibility. We maybe you don't have the strength, and you've told yourself that those are the things that I absolutely have to start working out. When the reality of that is that that's the reason you're coming to the workout. Even if you're starting at being able to do 5 pounds on whatever it is that you're doing, that's a starting point, and you can progress from there. It's all relative. And so we relearn by engaging, or we learn, maybe this is just your initial step into doing any exercise ever in your life, but when you take that initial step, you start learning, and it's just like learning anything else. Nothing is learned in a day. There's hours that have to be committed to that learning experience, and that's simply what we're trying to encourage here. One other thing that I'll bring up that Leah mentioned was you feel comfortable where you're at. And stepping outside of your comfort zone is intimidating because you don't know what is outside of that comfort zone. It's whatever that is out there, it's not familiar to you, but whatever it is in here is familiar to you. And so if you try to step outside of that and things don't go exactly as you anticipated, inherently you want to look at that as a setback, when in reality it was a learning opportunity of what not to do. And I recently read something where it was from a world-class athlete, and it was essentially to the point of, everybody recognizes me for the successes that I had as an athlete, but what they don't see that got me to that point of success were all the failures that I learned from that got me to that. And I think that's what you also have to overcome. So that's really, in a nutshell, what this intimidation piece comes down to. Talk to me about a lack of confidence, because I see this as another stumbling block for why individuals don't get started. They have a lack of confidence. Is this something you've ever dealt with?
No.
No. Okay, well, talk to us about it.
Just, being in a high intense athletic type realm, growing up my entire childhood, had the private coaches, had the dance coaches, had all these people that were always on me about my form and, am I doing it right? They always had the plan and everything set for me, which has actually set me up for the failure and the things I'm experiencing now, because they never allowed me to be a part of those training strategies and writing out the plans and things. So I never developed that from my childhood. I always had it handed to me. And as we know, when something's handed to you, you do not appreciate it as much further down the road. And you wish that those people that were, in charge of your performance at that point would have taken the time to included you in those. And that way I would have been, way over where I am now, starting over from scratch, relearning my body, just figuring out that muscle memory and what it means to me now versus what it meant to me then.
I really like what you're saying here, and I think about this in the exact same mindset, but I'm just going to say it a bit differently here. And all this comes down to is, if we are looking for confidence to come from an outside source, we've already failed. We've already created our own stumbling block. We have to create our own confidence. Confidence should come from within. And if we're not able to generate that, then we need to ask, what is it that's getting in our way of quite simply doing that? Now, something else I see that comes about as a stumbling block for a lot of individuals is you don't know where to start. You just don't know. Maybe you go to the internet and you start Googling things and you think, okay, there's an exercise I can do. And maybe you try it a few times, but then you don't know what to do next. No one's explained any of that to you. So you don't have a familiarity where to start, and you don't have a sequential process to follow through that's going to keep you engaged. And what I'll share with you on this is that you just need to start, and at the beginning, the process is going to look disjointed. It's not going to be messy. It's going to be messy. It's going to be smooth.
You're going to be like, what's this again? I wrote this down and this is my plan, but I completely forgot what this movement is. I have this name. That's great, but what is it?
So I want to give you two things on this. So one is just a bit of a comical thing to what Leah's saying, is that I like for her to share with me when she comes into the gym, what she's been doing. And, sometimes I listen to her share with me these things and I think, man, she's all over the map, but she's learning. She's learning. So she's engaging. She's getting more familiar with them. So with these exercises and how to do this. So that's great, right? So I'm proud of her for that.
You have to be open to someone else telling you you're doing it wrong and not shut down or be offended.
Right, there's no reason. It's just part of, again, the learning process. You need to be able to take constructive criticism on this. And then as far as looking at the process itself, you should go back and start with a training journal. Go back to the video that I shot around a training journal, why these are important, and why you should never think about doing a workout without knowing what you're going to do, because you've already made a mental connection to it. And if you can make that mental connection, you're going to be so much further along. Leah used this example of don't be scared to take instruction. And wherever that's from, whether that's from someone such as myself, whether that's from a coach, whether that's from instructional videos, DVDs, things of this nature, find someone who is versed in what form of exercise you're interested in or looking to incorporate. And by doing so, you'll build that confidence. That confidence will come about that, oh, well, I can do that. And then you do it a few times and all of a sudden you own that movement. You know how to do that movement. And even when you recognize that I'm not doing the movement correctly, you own that too. And so there's all this familiarity that starts to come about. Now, there's a few other things that I want to touch on here. Sure. Mental connection. You and I have made acknowledgments about that exercise is as much or more of a mental challenge as much as it is a physical challenge.
I say it's actually 80% mental and 20% physical, because you'll mess yourself up completely here, even though you're physically able to do it, you just shut yourself down.
So this is also one of the reasons that I like a training journal, is because it creates a mental connection. And if you come to that training journal the first time and all you do is write wall squat, I'm going to do wall squats, and I'm going to do one set of wall squats, that's fine. It's a starting point. That will continue to grow over time. You'll learn how to refine that. You'll learn how to put exercises in there that you enjoy doing. And so the mental connectedness just comes from being habitual in engaging in the exercise activity and process, the mental process, right?
And then just watching a video, like before, at least an hour or two before you go to bed. You should not be blue lighting yourself before bedtime, but watching those videos over and over and over of the form, so when you're ready to execute it, you just execute it, and then you just tweak it how you need to, and then you've got it.
So we're talking here about the mental piece, but everybody thinks of exercise in the context of physical, so we have to touch on that. We can't ignore this physical component here.
So don't try to lift 100 pounds. Start with 10 and find your plateau, and then work from there.
Right, and so there's progressive resistance, right? So and when I say that, there's different definitions for that, but in terms of looking at trying to make sure that you're doing a movement that you're adapting to over time, we want the load to be safe, but yet challenging as well. But I don't see this necessarily always as the biggest stumbling block. I think that those issues come about more once someone's actually engaged in this. What I see as it relates to this physical piece for someone, for the physical component inhibiting someone from starting, is that they think I'm fatigued and I don't have the energy to engage in the exercise. And what I'll share with you on that, and whether you attribute that to a sedentary lifestyle, whether you attribute it to age, which is a terrible excuse, and it's all it is, it's just an excuse. So let's just acknowledge that. But when we talk about fatigue or lack of energy, what you have to understand is that by design, by the way that we as humans are designed, when we are more active and more mobile, it inherently stimulates various metabolic processes in our body that help generate energy for us. And so we're talking ourselves out of doing something that could make us feel better, and we're coming to it with the exact opposite mindset of what we should have. We should look at exercise as an energy-giving activity and not an energy-draining activity that's going to exacerbate your fatigue and your lethargy. We want to be able to look at exercise and think, yeah, I'm going to feel better after I engage in this.
But don't overdo it.
Right. So, but again, we're talking to folks that are just getting going here, right? I mean,
right.
we're getting started here, so not too worried about you guys overdoing it. But to Leah's point, you're probably going to get to a point where, as you've been very methodical in implementing the exercise and the mindset, as we've talked about, and the training journals and some of these other resources, you're going to find that you enjoy this, and you're going to find that you're going to ask yourself, well, why was it so hard for me to get started? And there's this natural tendency to do more and more. Make sure you look at my videos around intensity and frequency and things of this nature to help keep that in perspective and make sure that we don't overdo it, right? So we come to this conversation because we wanted you to be able to really think through what it is that is stopping you from getting started. Acknowledge these things, and once you acknowledge these things, I think what you'll find is that it's a whole lot easier to get started, and the reasons that you were not getting started really don't hold a lot of water anymore. So with that being said, guys, if you are looking for more information about how Leah and I support patients, you can go to drarlandhill.com. And if you're looking for information about what we do out here at the ranch, how we raise food with uncompromising principles, you can go to harvesthillsranch.com to find out all about that. Until next time, Dr. Arland Hill with Leah Hill. We'll see you soon.